Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The British Civil Service has had a long reputation of being anti-women. Not that they were particularly anti-women, it's just that there weren't very many women at the upper echelons. In fact, even today, most people in the higher levels of the civil service are men. But not for long. No, because there's a new wheeze in town. They're going to equalise the numbers. Not, of course, by hiring more women. No, that would be too easy. What they're going to do is change the rules so that any old man in there can suddenly declare he's a woman simply by saying so, and that would help balance the numbers. Of course, this about turn is a bit odd considering this is the same civil service that insisted that you needed gender recognition certificates, but hey ho. It's also starting to cause a bit of a backlash, not least amongst real women. Let's look at this article and see what the hell is happening at the upper echelons of our government. So, civil servants in the Cabinet Office Department are allowed to self-identify their gender. Fury as government staff don't need to state whether they are male or female on their employee records. Government Digital Service no longer requires staff to state sex. Instead, their new system simply lets workers type in the gender they say they are. These details are then added to their employment records in the department. Rights campaigners said it eroded the safety, dignity and privacy of women. I will also say two things. One, there might be some kind of a medical emergency, and if they don't know your actual sex before giving you something or doing something to you, that could prove, well, uncomfortable, to say the least, possibly even, dangerous. But there's also the fact that how do you monitor the number of men to women ratio for equality purposes? All of a sudden, we've got a lot more women than we thought we had. Yes, but the number of penises in the room hasn't changed. You see where I'm going with this one. But anyway, we'll get into it. Cabinet Office staff at the heart of government are being allowed to self-identify their gender under a new system women's rights campaigners warn is rife for abuse. Well, of course it is. You can see straight away why. Because Brian from accounts, all he has to do, throw on a bit of rouge, a bit of lippy, throw on a wig, his mother's blouse, his wife's skirt, have to buy himself a brand new pair of slingbacks because those big size 10 feet ain't going to come easy, are they? And then he can trounce into the office, call himself Susan, and people are going to have to like it. Will they like it? Don't know. And that's only on Monday. By Wednesday he's back to being Steve, but Steve's a gangster. And then Thursday he's Eric, a bisexual, flamboyant, life guru. These are the sort of things they can do because there's no control on it. They can do what they like and they can chop and change whenever they want. They've got to be able to pick one and stick with it. And I suggest that the one they pick is the one they're born with. And then that's it. There's no problem then. Records for employees at the Government Digital Service no longer require them to state whether they're male or female. Instead, staff can simply type in what gender they identify as. Mail Online can disclose the GDS, which is part of the Cabinet Office, quietly rolled out the new system over the past few months. Yes, well, they weren't going to advertise this, were they? They knew the backlash would be pretty big. Women's rights campaigners have previously warned self-identification could be a pathway to abuse from predatory individuals, of course, because if you want to get close to women where they're vulnerable, you could go to a women's toilet or something like that. All you've got to do is throw on a dress, call yourself Susan and wander in, and then you can do what you like to these women because who's going to stop you? Because anyone complains, they're being Islamophobe. That's the way it's going. As opposed to what should happen, which is the women screaming, get the out of my toilet, you weird man. Anyway, it compares completely at odds with some ministers' views on the need for biological sex to be recorded accurately. And not only that, but actually in law, biological sex is a reserved matter. So for the Equality Act 2010, for example, you cannot discriminate on the grounds of sex. And so if a woman says this is a female only zone, we feel safe, we need this for various reasons, a man, even if he wants to be a woman, cannot go in there because he's a man. And they need to be pushing this for all toilets. Anyway, just days ago, the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, publicly castigated Sussex Police after it defended a legally male trans P when women called him a man. Well, not just women, but the courts, because he's legally a man, and the court recognised he's legally a man. He is a man. He's legally a man. The courts recognise he's a man. He's got a penis. He's got man DNA, etc., etc., etc. And the police said, oh, it's wrong of you to misgender him. That's a crime. No, it isn't. Anyway, Caroline Fisk from Conservatives for Women told the Mail Online, sex does matter for the safety, dignity, privacy, as well as lifelong opportunities for women and girls. Yeah, but these men who are pushing this, the trans lobby men that are pushing this, don't want that. They don't want women to have an area just for women. They want there to be men and then the people who aren't men, which includes women. They want the actual destruction of the term woman, or at least a reappraisal of the word woman to mean woman is anyone who says they're a woman regardless of their biology. And that's not how it is. And there's Caroline Fisk on the left with Maya in the middle. She's a friend of the channel. We back Maya Forster completely in her fight. She's a formidable force, shall we say. It sounds under this new system, for data management purposes, civil servants will not need to record their sex at all. Men will be able to self-identify as women and women as men. Civil servants will be able to come up with any new self-identification descriptions they like, whether that be pansexual or wombat. The GDS's new system lets employers refuse to say what biological sex they are and write what gender they consider themselves to be, which is wrong. They must say what they are. Their gender is their birth sex. That's the easiest way of doing it. Don't put gender up on the form. Put sex at birth. And that's all you need. Sex at birth. And if they don't feel that they can fill in the answer to the question, what was your sex at birth? Tell them, thanks for playing, and tell them to bugger off and find a job elsewhere. It said it has introduced a new system after staff feedback and consulting its LGBT plus group. But it's not clear who signed off on the new procedure. That person needs to be investigated and then fired. One government source told the Mail Online the department made decisions that were not necessarily in total chime with accepted policy, i.e. totally against accepted policy and totally against government guidelines and, in fact, against the law, because the Equality Act 2010 is very, very specific on certain things. In the GDS's new forms, people are asked if they identify with the sex they were assigned at birth. There is no one assigning sex at birth. Let's move away from this line of bollocks that they keep pushing. Nobody is assigned sex at birth. You aren't a neutral being up until the moment of your birth, and then a nurse with a clipboard goes, oh, we'll assign you male. That's not how it works. It's the moment of conception. Your sex is decided, not assigned, and it happens at the moment of conception, not at birth. So please move away from this utter bullshit terminology that they use. But they have to use this terminology to try and make it acceptable to reassign gender, because it was assigned male. You weren't fucking assigned male. You were born male because you were conceived at the moment of conception. That was decided, and you would be male from that point. Options available are yes, no, or prefer not to say, which then leads to a separate section. If the question is answered no, users can enter any free text they want about their gender identity. I would love to have the job there. I would have such a field day with that box. I would be filling that in on a regular basis, not telling people every time anyone got it wrong, be straight up to HR and demand an apology and demand retribution. And I would do this. I would change my gender 3 times a day. And I would make it clear that it was unacceptable for anyone to misgender me at any point. And I would destroy this system. And that's all it takes people to do that, destroy the system, because these people can push for the things they want. The one thing they cannot stand is to be laughed at and to be ridiculed. And they need to be laughed at and ridiculed. And I'm not going to go on with it. It's all bollocks. But it's basically, this is the woke wankerati pushing pushing the trans lobby, the tiny minority of the trans lobby, mentally ill people. Oh, we've got to do this and this and this because old Deirdre in Forward Planning, she thinks she's a fucking trifle. They need help. They need psychiatric help. And they need to be fired. We need to get them out. These people are spending public money on shit like this. Let's get them out of office. Put them out in a little, a little home out in the country. They can listen to the bird song as they recover from their deep mental illness. Anyway, I'll stop now. I'm going to come up and finish off. Why is this happening? Why do they constantly feel the need to bend over backwards, to pander to the mentally ill? They represent 0.1%, not even 0.1% of the population. And yet the mouth on them and everyone in government seems to think that they represent 51% because nobody can be normal anymore. They're so small a number that if they had this need that they needed to change their records, go along to the HR department and write it in on pencil. It's not the most onerous of tasks. You don't need to make everybody feel special just because you're not. The mentally ill have got far too much say in matters like this. But I do see it open to abuse, in much the same way as these mentally ill people like to abuse women by taking their opportunities, taking their spaces, that kind of thing. But we can have a bit of fun at their expense now. So, like I say, anyone in this department who wants to have fun, please go ahead. Change your identity 3-4 times a day. Change it to anything you like. Invent new terms. It will be fun. Make HR work. Make them constantly send out memo after memo after memo to say who you are. Make them get sick of doing it. And then maybe they'll stop and normalcy will return, because it is just a joke and these people cannot abide being ridiculed. So ridicule them. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, play the game to win, and goodbye.